Alright, before I really get into this, let me say something I didn't understand until it happened to me. Silence isn't the absence of conflict. Sometimes it's just the pause before someone decides how far they think they can push you. I learned that the hard way, up on a mountain where I genuinely believed I was finally out of reach, where I thought the world had forgotten my name. And honestly, I was grateful for that. I didn't move up there because I hated people. I moved up there because I was tired of them. Tired in a way sleep doesn't touch. Tired of explaining myself. Tired of choosing every word carefully so it wouldn't be twisted later. Tired of watching the same power games play out with different faces and different titles, knowing exactly how it would end before anyone else did. I wanted a place where days passed quietly, where mistakes didn't turn into case files, where no one cared what I used to do for a living. I wanted to be invisible. And for the first time in my life, invisibility felt like a gift. That mountain gave me that, at least in the beginning. Life up there had a rhythm to it. Slow mornings, coffee steaming in the cold air, the sound of wind moving through trees instead of traffic and voices. I split wood when my hands felt restless, fixed small things that didn't really need fixing, just because I could. I learned which floorboard creaked, which step to avoid when it rained. I started sleeping through the night without waking up replaying conversations in my head. I remember thinking, this is what people mean when they talk about peace, not happiness, not excitement, just the absence of tension. That's why the feeling hit me so hard the day it all went wrong. I knew something was wrong before I saw anything. That's the part people don't believe until it happens to them. Your body knows first. The road up the mountain was the same dirt road I'd driven 100 times, same bends, same ruts, same trees leaning inward like old men whispering secrets, but the air felt wrong, tight, heavy, too still, like the mountain itself was holding its breath, waiting. When I rounded the last curve, the one where my cabin usually came into view, my brain stalled, just froze for a second. Because what I expected to see simply wasn't there. No porch, no roof catching the afternoon light, no familiar shape tucked between the trees, just dust hanging in the air, drifting slowly, broken beams scattered like matchsticks, smoke curling upward, like it didn't quite know where to go. And, sitting right in the middle of it all, was a bulldozer, engine idling, tracks sunk deep into the soil I'd walked barefoot, more mornings than I could count. That was the moment something old woke up in me. Not rage, not panic, recognition. The same cold awareness you get when you walk into a room and immediately know someone's lying to you. I stood there longer than I probably should have, hands in my jacket pockets, just breathing, letting the picture settle. Because when you spent enough years doing the kind of work I did, you learn something important. Panic is expensive. Panic makes you sloppy. And whatever this was, it wasn't random. It wasn't an accident. It was planned. I didn't always live in the mountains. For most of my adult life, I worked investigations, not the glamorous kind people imagine on TV. Financial crimes, property fraud, zoning manipulation. Quiet, clean-looking crimes where nobody bleeds, but lives still get ruined slowly and politely. 20-some years of reading contracts people never bothered to understand, watching confident smiles fade when the numbers stopped working in their favor. I was good at it. And being good at that kind of work costs you something over time. You stop trusting simple explanations. You stop believing in coincidences. You start seeing motives everywhere, even when you don't want to. By the time I left that life, I was tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. Bone tired, soul tired. So when I turned in my badge, boxed up my notebooks, I didn't want applause or a second act. I didn't want to consult, didn't want to teach, didn't want to stay involved. I wanted quiet. I wanted mornings that belonged to me. I wanted to fix things with my hands instead of my head. I wanted to be tired in an honest way, the kind that comes from work you can point to. That's how I found the cabin. Small A-frame, old parcel of land, tucked into the trees just beyond a development called Silver Ridge Estates. On paper, it looked charming. Neat houses, trimmed lawns, flags that said community, in soft, friendly fonts. The kind of place that smiles at you while quietly measuring how much control it has over everything within arm's reach. The important part was the boundary. Silver Ridge ended a mile short of my land. My parcel was old, private, clean deed. No HOA strings attached. I checked it the way you check a lock before bed. Once, twice. Then again, just to be sure. Everything lined up. This place was mine. For a while, it felt like I'd finally outrun my past. I'd sit on the porch in the mornings, listening to the creek argue with the rocks below. I fixed screens, tightened loose boards, split wood. Learned the rhythm of the place, the way the light shifted through the trees, the way the wind changed before a storm. I started recognizing birds by sound. I started sleeping through the night. I remember thinking, maybe this is it. Maybe I'm done fighting. Then came the SUV, white, spotless, blocking the road like it belonged there. A guy steps out wearing mirrored sunglasses and a cheap uniform posture stiff, chin lifted just a little too high. He didn't introduce himself, didn't say hello. Just asked for my resident permit. I took a sip of coffee before answering, not to be clever, just buying myself a second. Told him I wasn't part of Silver Ridge. Showed him the deed. He flipped it over like the answer might be hiding on the back. When he handed it back, his jaw was tight. "This will be noted," he said. "I've heard that sentence before. It never means nothing." After that, the tone shifted. Notes under my windshield wiper. No names. No signatures. Just vague warnings dressed up as policy. Unauthorized structures subject to review. Then later failure to comply may result in enforcement actions. Funny how people who have never enforced a real law love that word. They like how it sounds. Makes them feel important. Makes them feel powerful. At first, I ignored it. Bullies thrive on reaction. But then the watching started. Trucks slowing down too much as they passed. Someone idling at the edge of the tree line longer than necessary. A cigarette butt near my boundary marker, still warm. Then one night, footsteps on the porch. Someone testing the doorknob, not breaking in, just checking, seeing if I was awake. That was the moment the quiet stopped feeling peaceful and started feeling watched. You don't survive my old line of work by pretending patterns are coincidences. I installed a small hidden camera, tucked into a fake bird's nest under the porch beam. Subtle, easy to miss. Insurance, I told myself, just in case this got stupid. And it did. The day the cabin was destroyed, I drove into town for supplies. Screws, brackets, coffee. 30 minutes, maybe 40. Standing in line, I had that itch between my shoulders, the one you get when something's happening and you're not there to see it. By the time I drove back up the mountain, the road felt longer, heavier, like it already knew what was waiting for me. I felt the bulldozer before I heard it, a low vibration through the steering wheel. When the trees opened up, there it was, my place, gone, flattened like it never mattered. 3 men in reflective vests stood around, pretending to read clipboards. I stepped out of my truck slow, calm in a way that surprises people. Then I saw it, my old watch, lying in the mud, 20 years on my wrist. Before I could reach it, the bulldozer rolled forward. Slow, intentional. Crushed it. The operator leaned out and laughed. "Go ahead and sue us, old man." That laugh wasn't anger, it was certainty. They were sure I was nobody. Sure I'd yell, maybe cry, then disappear. I recorded everything. The fate demolition order, thou wash. The map with boundaries stretched like taffy. The HOA president's signature at the bottom. Her name was Lauren Beckett. Ran Silver Ridge like royalty. Smiled a lot. Loved power. The crew packed up fast once I started using words like criminal trespass and document falsification. Funny how confidence evaporates when language gets precise. After they left, I stayed. Walked the wreckage like a crime scene. Tire tracks, blade marks, gate access. Someone had opened the HOA's private maintenance gate. Someone had rushed forged paperwork that morning. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a plan. That night I slept in my truck. Not because I had nowhere else to go, but because leaving felt like surrender. The mountain was quiet again, but it wasn't comforting anymore. It felt like it was watching to see what I'd do next. The motive surfaced the next day. I parked across from the HOA office and heard Lauren on the phone, talking too loud, too confident. Developer. Bonus. Deadline. We have to secure the ridge before month's end. My land sat right in the middle. That's when it clicked. I wasn't a homeowner. I wasn't a problem. I was an obstacle. Then the cracks started. Fire it. A board member found me later that afternoon. Middle-aged woman. Shaking hands. Voice barely steady. She told me she hadn't slept in days, that she thought it would just be paperwork, that no one would actually lose anything real. She handed me emails, meeting notes, internal memos. Phrases like, "Do whatever's necessary. He'll cave. No one will fight this." She kept apologizing, like apologies could uncrush a house. People think conspiracies are complicated. They're not. They're just arrogance under pressure, mixed with the assumption that nobody will push back. What followed wasn't revenge. It was patience. Watching people panic. Panic makes mistakes. I let them unravel. Late-night emails. Confessions whispered in parked cars. Texts sent and deleted. People desperate to save themselves once they realized who they were standing next to. By the time the HOA meeting happened, I had audio recordings, documents, statements stacked neatly in a folder. The room was packed. Residents confused. Tired. Angry, but unsure who to be angry at. Lauren stood at the podium telling everyone everything was legal, everything under control, everything handled. Her voice steady, confident, practiced. I let her talk. I let her get comfortable. Then I played her own voice back to her. The room shifted instantly. Faces hardening, whispers turning sharp. The kind of silence that presses on your chest. I stepped forward and set my badge on the table. The sound it made hitting the wood was quiet, but the effect wasn't. Authority only works until it meets accountability. The arrests came later. Quietly. No sirens, no spectacle, just consequences. Silver Ridge unraveled fast after that. Board resignations, accounts frozen, developers backing away like they'd never heard of the place. Rebuilding took time. More time than tearing something down ever does. I built the new cabin slower, stronger, deeper footings, better sight lines. I didn't rush it. Every beam felt deliberate. Every nail felt like a decision. Now I'm back on the ridge. I still drink my coffee on the porch. Still listen to the creek. Still wake up early, but the quiet feels different now. Earned. Defended. It's not the kind of peace you stumble into. It's the kind you protect. And here's the part that still sticks with me. How easily power convinces itself it's untouchable. How often people confuse community with control. How many times someone gets labeled difficult just for standing on what's theirs. So I'll leave you with this. If this were your land, your home, your last shot at peace, how far would you go to protect it? Where do you draw the line between rules and abuse, order and entitlement? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one, and trust me, stories like this don't end nearly as often as people think.